Hello, everybody, and welcome to DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process
Oh,
by coming up with monsters. Sorry, my audio just lagged into my headphones and made me feel like I had a serious condition. That was so rough.
to the hospital.
I heard myself with a full second delay start talking in my headphones. Hello, everybody, and welcome to DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, and worlds live. And today, we are very much leaning on the promise of the premise. We are going to be delving into the mystical world of world building, trying to construct and create things that will help us one day run a game, or you run a game in this campaign setting. So, for those of you who are not aware, we are in what we would call a gaslight setting, post industrial. Things have begun to revolutionize in a kind of industrial way, with a dwarf discovering that what they thought was a mysterious subterranean curse was actually the discovery of a natural gas created by monstrosities that scour the earth as if looking for something that they are never able to find. We now know that those monstrosities are actually the absent humans of this world. Humanity is absent in this world because in the long, far ago past, one of the 10 gods of this world made humanity and banned the other 9 gods from making any of their own creations. The other 9 managed to deceive humanity into helping them slay the god of humanity, the 10th god, their eldest sibling, so that they may free the world and let things exist in a more natural state. What humans did not know is that they were damning themselves in the process. With the death of their god, they were warped into cursed shapes, these bloated and rotting, scaly and bone protruding strange creatures called omens that produce a gas called shimmer merely by existing, who scour the earth, hunting relentlessly the other 9 gods in the hope of finding their slumbering bodies beneath the earth. Why are those gods slumbering? They slumber to protect their children, the 9 mortal, thinking, growing, believing races of the world. And we learned last time that the omens will never find them, because at the center of the earth, the god of the dwarves sacrificed to some degree, maybe not itself, but its form, the god of the dwarves Olivine, to create a shell that protects them. The core of this world, literally, is the 9 gods who slumber, protecting the world and holding off the rot of the rotten god, the dead god of humanity, a tyrannical and terrible being that had to be slain so that the world could continue, no matter the cost. Last time we discovered a couple of the races of this world, dwarves, who need to always sleep underground and who are members of a highly structured society that reflects the fact that dwarves start malleable flesh-like stone beings who harden with time. Their beards begin to turn fully to stone, and so the gems that you have woven into it that tell the story of what your life will be like, what career you will take, become cemented. And to break that, to break your beard, is to remove yourself from dwarven society and be forced into the overworld. There we moved on to changelings, will-o'-the-wisps as they are known in myth. Changelings, when they become familiar, when they make contact and speak to people, they gain the ability to take on the shapes of the other mortal races, and in so doing, they gain the physical bodies that they need to interact with the world. So they began as nomadic and now also live in what are essentially massive, kind of a lot of the capital cities of this world have great numbers of changelings, and the great changeling city of this world is kind of New York City style. It is a dockside hub of trade and economics where anybody who is not a changeling is incentivized to live there, because changelings literally depend on people living there that they can meet and come to know so that they can adopt their new forms. The god of the changelings being Thea, this 2-headed, 6-faced god who constantly spins and changes in their formation, one of the faces just being light to reflect the true nature of changelings, and one that a watchful eye will notice is never seen. Nobody in the world would know, but that is the lost face of humanity, a god of stories, fables, etc. And then we moved on to elves, tall, lithe, strong beings made from trees, their skin bark-like, but still maintaining a soft and malleable sort of angle. They are based almost on carnivorous plants. They give off these sweet-smelling pheromones. They appear beautiful to whoever looks at them. They are a lounging and restful people like lionesses. They eat and then spend long periods of time studying new things, taking on new interests, but very much slowed, not only by their own habits, but by the fact that they give off these strange pheromones that leave you in kind of a stupor, making it so that in order to interact with one another, elves need to do everything through intermediaries, because your family members are resistant to that charm. And so you need to tell your cousin, who tells his friend, who tells his friend, who tells his friend, and that's how news needs to spread, lest somebody end up on the back foot because of a meeting that they did not plan ahead for. Some elves in the deeper parts of the wood are, however, hostile. To them, you are prey. You are like a deer or a squirrel in the wood. They see no difference. And the friendly and more amicable groups of elves, which we have decided is the average group, will warn you where to stay away from and to be cautious. The elven god we know is a reflection of this sort of relaxed, influenced by nature, but not necessarily fully integrated with it, hunting, kind of predatory, but also sociable form that the elves take, who we don't have a name for yet, but we just know if you were to enter into a realm and be approached by this being, you would just sort of be walking through a dark wood and then realize that there is something up in the tree that is watching you, and you get the distinct impression that if you stay and speak, you will be safe, but that if you were to turn your back and run, you would probably die. Not by any fault of this creature, but because there is some deep instinct that would give you no recourse in any other direction. It occurred to me after the fact where it came from in my head. My family, a very long time ago, went to buy a greyhound, and we had a cat. And when we went to get the greyhound from the guy, he was like, "Hey, do you have any other pets?" And we were like, "Yeah, we have a cat." And he was like, "Oh, you can't get this greyhound." And my dad was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, it's a racing greyhound." And they were like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Yeah, they are bred to have absolutely ferocious prey instinct. So your dog, with no ill intention, your cat will run by and the dog will kill the cat. And will be as confused as you are that has just happened." The dog will also be like, "Whoa, that was crazy." So there's kind of an interesting angle to take. We had a sort of tentative title that we know that in Elvish, this translates to Mother Wolf is the name of this god, but that is the only thing we know of the name. Maybe that is all we need to know. So today we need to move on. We have 6 more races, 6 more gods, and a lot more problems to tackle. Do we have any idea on where we want to start? What directions we're going?
It looks like you want to say something, Spence.
Yeah, for the name of the elven god, we could do a callback to a previous product of ours, and we could call this god Eska, in the way that it is alluring,
but predatory.
And its creatures
I like it.
are and predatory.
Fun.
I like that energy. I like a god that is ancient in a way that clashes with modern society. The thought that elves still worship this god because it is their patron. We've said this is a very hard fantasy world. These creatures are not meant to reflect our own lived experience. We've said that these the elves and the dwarves and the changelings and whatever else we come up with, these are not allegories for race. These are species. These are allegories for a dog and a cat and a chimpanzee and a butterfly. These are disparate beings. So the thought that a modern elf would be like, we absolutely still pray to Eska, and they're like, "Oh, do you follow all of Eska's teachings?" And they're like, no, we don't. Why? Eska is thousands of years old and predates civilization. Some of Eska's tenets include killing the usurper, which means anyone who gets close to your house. We take kind of a back seat on some of that.
The guys in the woods, they're more hardcore on the old style.
Yeah, it's sort of fundamentalist in a way, right? They're kind of in their own camp. I think that's very interesting. Michael, what were you going to say, though, before we
My pitch for the next species I talked about them a little bit. It could be fun. It'd be the twin gods, and the race would be the species would be the stitched, and it's like two beings stitched together.
Mm. Here's what I think is fun about that. If those gods were weakened in some way by some aspect of their birth, they were limited, so they put their energies together to create a single race that works but is not pleasant at all, is pretty interesting.
So
I know we talked.
Does this
like,
occupy two spaces? Is this gods 4 and 5, or is this the twin, the grafted, or is the grafted god, a sort of half-born? Like,
I
my
think
first.
this.
Go ahead.
Good. I was gonna say I think that this counts as one god. These gods are like half deities. Together, they create enough divine power to be considered a divinity. But if they were to be separated, no.
So they're kind of they're sort of a shattered. So are they? We're making a rule true about divinity, right? So can something be born half divine? Because right now, our origin of world is there was a great overgod that had 10 children. The firstborn of which was the maker of man, the maker of men in chains, right? A tyrannical being, and then 9 others. So were two demigods born? Are these the 2 youngest siblings? And by that time, the divine light had become so thin that they were, that in real life, gods 10 and 11 were born, so disavowed and weak? Or was there a god who was sundered, who was split in some way? Like, what happened there?
So I'm on board with it being like the last 2 gods, and they were just weakened. The other thought would be like it's like the second eldest, and they tried to usurp the eldest alone.
Did he cut them in half?
That's
and they formed
pretty
2?
sick. Because I was thinking the first, but I think that's way more hardcore, that god was ripped apart. And that's why the other gods were like, we're not going to do it. Are you crazy? We got to get the humans to do it.
Okay, so we're starting, so we like this idea of a kind of grafted, people. I'm writing sort of undead with a question mark. It might be interesting to have a sort of undead species, a species that is dead by default. But so a god slain or bisected by eldest that proceeded to kind of starfish into these 2 beings that now need to cooperate on everything. They share the same power. They can do nothing unless they can manage to stick their heads together. I think that's interesting.
We can take this in a literal sense or a bit more. I mean, it's always going to be literal. We're talking about actual gods. But we can make it a bit more metaphorical. If we say the god of humanity splits this god apart, if in so splitting, the god of humanity removes the humanity of that god, and that humanity takes essence, humanity being sort of a stand-in for like morality and love and, whatever, that being pulled apart from it, and then those 2 aspects being what's left, the pure, like...
So sort of left brain, right brain.
Yeah, exactly. Really similar to that. And one could have form and the other could be formless, whatever. But that being how it was split apart is one way. The other way is he literally cut it in half with a divine sword. And now that grew up another half, and the other half grew up, and now they're, stuck with each other. Either way, I'm fine with. Just wanted to pitch it.
I'm cool shifting it. I'm cool with that maybe being what's true for the species. My mental picture was a god who had been split down the middle and was now like, I don't know, I kind of like the image of when you pray to this god, when you see their face, you see like a head being held together by its hands.
Pretty sick.
It doesn't need to be that. Maybe it is better if it is a sort of sundered in some other way. But the thing that gets to me that is the most important is it gets us two mouths.
True.
It can't have been like lopped this way, because then it's like the god of legs is weird. Like that's, I'm not sure where we're going with that.
How I would see it was when it was cut in half, if it did go across the middle, would just be it did starfish.
Yeah.
That god couldn't be killed in that way, so it grew up here and grew up from the bottom.
Let's start with what we want this species to look like in the world. So I see two options. Number one is there are sort of two species that live together. There is this kind of, if we're going with this right brain, left brain metaphor, which I kind of like, the thought that there is a genuinely like emotionless, purely logical being.
We got some Vulcans.
I think it's interesting, but like not, because Vulcans culturally choose to forego feelings. I'm talking about like they do not have the capacity for emotion. Like they are a purely mechanical, almost robotic, right? And then the other half are these viciously emotive, entirely nonsensical. We're getting a little bit of a like Fey Fiend thing going there.
Yeah.
We had talked about sort of bringing up, devils and demons somewhere. I think it might be that we could try to do something in that way. Or are they an integrated, is there one being that in some way has some marbling, is clearly like two things jammed together?
A la the Kalishtar.
I struggle to see how that would work mechanically.
Yeah,
in a way that isn't too hokey.
Yeah, I think two different beings is the easier way, at least.
Yeah, I don't see why not. And we could, if we're making two different beings, we can consider the split god as two gods in our pantheon of 9. Right? There's no reason not
like,
to.
No. I like the idea that they are one. I don't feel the need to run away from that. I think that works. The thought that they are like the two in one, I think is interesting. It is this god who was split. And for a time, it's like, so we're getting into some weird, cool real world stuff. There is a surgery that people can undergo where the two halves of your brain are separated from one another so that they no longer communicate. It's not a lobotomy. It's common in people who have like really severe seizures. They will literally like separate the two halves of your brain. And what can happen, and this is really messed up, if you put up a barrier so that somebody who has had this surgery, if you wait like 5 years and you put up a barrier so that somebody who has had this surgery done, like their left and right sides aren't looking the same place, and you put a sheet of paper in front of both of their hands with a color wheel, and you say, point to your favorite color, there is a chance that they will point at two different colors. Because the two halves of their brain will have slowly begun to diverge in their opinions. And I kind of like that might be true of this god. It's like, in the days that followed, they were identical, like nothing had changed. But now that years and centuries and millennia have gone by, we have these two like swirling chocolate vanilla like beings that are very different and have very different opinions and to clash. And maybe that is manifest, I don't know. So we've thrown around a couple of ideas. Spencer, if we wanted to sort of go in the Kalishtar direction, and it sounds like you're kind of reticent to have two species under one divinity here, maybe we could, is there some fun to be had in a Jekyll and Hyde species? That like,
I was thinking about that, where it's like, would it be every 24 hours? Would it be at the start of each day, you roll die, you get wheel or woe? Like, what happened?
Werewolves?
This is where lycanthropy comes from. It's pretty interesting.
Werewolves? Is lycanthropy
I'm okay.
not a curse? Is lycanthropy just these people? And the rumor is if one bites you, you will catch it?
Give it to you. Michael?
If we won't go like lycanthropy route, I'm definitely cool with it. I think it's every night though, because the thing that gods have the same power. If it was only every full moon, the one god's definitely stronger than the other.
No, I definitely think that it would be like nightly. It would be like every night.
I'm gonna pull back from my previous reticence. I feel like that would be too annoying to roleplay.
Okay.
Having roleplayed characters like that, and I don't want it to be a hassle for people to try and be like, am I an asshole now, or what am I being? It's never as much fun as it sounds like it'll be. So I think two species is fine, as long as they're like integrated, real tight.
Something I would like a lot, but I don't know if it would work, would be the Peter Pan shadow of it all. If it's like, if one of you is the thought that the eldest cut this god in half by cutting its shadow away, and so now they live separately, but then it's just, to be the species you have to play Eldritch Knight.
Yeah, it's a subclass.
Yeah,
thing
that just
more than
is a
anything.
subclass. Okay, so then my question would be, are you two dudes? Like, if I roll up a character and I say that I want to be Zorantai, am I two people? Am I two people that are inseparable? They are never apart. It's like, no, I need you to understand. I'm not talking about, like, they aren't apart a lot. They are never apart. They are never further than 20 feet from each other. What do you mean? Why don't you ever go somewhere without your hand? Why don't you ever go somewhere without your leg, right? Annoying to roleplay two characters. But is that what happens? Like, is it a little bit of like, the crones who share an eye and a mouth and only speak one at a time?
There's that. It could be that instead of you having to roleplay both, the DM has to roleplay essentially like an add-on, a mercenary that is that character, and they have all the information about who it is and what they might do. And you have to pick which angle, like which species you want to be. No, I think you could just pick one of them.
Okay.
And societally speaking, it's super integrated.
So do we want to stick with this sort of profoundly logical versus profoundly emotional angle, or is there any other more interesting? And how sharp is that? Is it what we described? And if you decide to play a, Lovanti, you are like, that is not the correct decision. And is it pure, like, strong like that, or is it a little looser?
It could be, I'd say, it's a little bit looser. They are still the same being. They aren't, but they are.
Or, and I'm gonna make or can I say, are we officially too heady for a playable species, and we need to make this a monster stat block or an NPC stat block that you can run into? Have we gone too far into the weeds? I'm beginning to smell grass clippings, and I want to check in while we're still working.
I don't think we're too far. I think that if you are, the super logical one, you're not the rest of the Vulcan. You're Spock. You have emotion. Societally, you're not supposed to show it, and you're gonna look like a real freaking weirdo if you do. So you have it. Don't overdo it. If you're playing that character, the point of it is that your emotions are suppressed. Yeah, Nicole's calling out that that's just being British. We're making British people, and that's very true. And we'll give them a speech impediment as well.
And so then what is the other half of this coin then? Like deep, like profoundly emotional and far less logical?
Super empathetic, almost artsy.
I was picturing goblins. Goblins being like pure chaos, do what they want to do in the moment, not thought out, not logical, just this is what happens now.
Yeah, so it's very like separation in ego. It's kind of what you're going.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm
I have a pitch.
Yes.
Goblins and hobgoblins. Is a hobgoblin like, this is not a tactically sound decision, and the goblin is like, I have 2 sticks of dynamite. And it's like,
yep.
What is the plan with the 2 sticks? Like,
don't know, but I got 2 of them. Exactly. Hobgoblins, they'll still have emotion. Goblins, can still think out the consequences of their actions. It's just they probably won't, and they probably won't show it. But when they do, it's because they're breaking from the societal norm.
So now my only other, as a small, just because I don't want people to have to say hobgoblins and goblins, my instinct would be to say they are hobs and goblins.
Yeah.
And hobs are, like, tall, and
They're
goblins
the elves of goblins, yeah.
Hobbs
It's
and
just
gobs.
why do they, and it's like, they always live together. Why? I think they need to? I don't know. I think they need to, maybe? Like, maybe they need to be around each other? I really don't know. But it's something like that. And it might be fun in the rulebook to be like, maybe you do have a retainer that is the other half.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. Why do they always travel together? They always do. Hobgoblins travel with goblins, and goblins travel with hobgoblins. Why? Goblins need a plan, and hobs need somebody with dynamite. Like,
That's how
they
it goes.
do work. So hobs and goblins are all right. Wow, this took such a direction.
It did. I like it. Do you want to say Hobbs and Goblins, or do you want to do Hobbs and Gobs?
I
I
think
think
hobs
maybe-
and goblins.
I think
because
maybe they colloquially are called hobs and gobs on occasion.
they call them hobgobs. If they're together, hobgob. They're hobgobs. But if they're separated for
No,
whatever
I do
reason,
have to-
it's
no, I do have
it's
to
a
ask.
hobgoblin.
Are we gonna do a soulmate thing? Are they in
bonded.
proportion?
Oh,
Is there a hob for every goblin?
Now that's pretty sick.
I like that,
That's
and it
pretty sick.
is profound
And-
if a gob loses their hob.
And
or
do
a
they
hob
go
loses
search?
their
And they
gob.
go searching? Like, is the great mission of a hob's life, and then they are known as the great, the unheard of, the hobgoblin. Like,
Yeah. That's fun. What percentage do you think of players would say, I'm a hob who's lost my gob? They died, and that's
Many.
why I'm an adventurer. Because I feel like it's a high 70%.
it is so funny to be a hob and be like, I'm looking for whimsy. It's like,
I must see the world through the eyes of my gob.
they could not live to see this. Just imagining a hob like standing in the middle of a field that they've set on fire, and they're setting off fireworks completely emotionlessly, and you're like, what are you doing? And they're like, they would have liked this. You're like, that was very, wow. That's quite the tone shift. All right, so that's what hobs and goblins are up to. I think that is very funny. And there is a sort of soul link. Is it hey soul sister, you know it when you see it and you need to just explore until you find them? Or is it Star of Wonder? I must away to the west. I feel my other half.
That's hard.
Because then the question is like, does the average hob find their goblin? Does the average goblin find their hob? Or do they most of the time not? And it is rare.
Mike, what do you think?
I think it's very easy for a goblin to know, and for a hob it's tough. Like they go look in a bit.
Ooh.
But a
Okay.
goblin sees their hob, is like, you're my man.
Hear me out. It's considered a holy pilgrimage to go find your other half. But it's the visions are given to you by your god. You'd have to go to a temple, imbibe of these juices. You'll see where they are. You'll know who it is, whatever. That's so emotion based for the most part, where it's like, I feel it. I know they're there. I'm going to go and do it. Hobs just aren't doing that. The goblins always show up at the hob's doorstep like, hello, you're my guy. And then they will realize it in that moment. But hobs just don't do the thing. 'Cause
Or
why would they?
Or they are like consulting star charts. They are like,
Mhm.
they're like, I was born on January the 3rd. According to the and like trying to, you just seeing a hob like hand to the sky, tracing along a star map, and then you see running down the road.
You! It's you!
It's like, huh?
Look at your dynamite.
Have to attack. And you're like, all right. Okay. So I think that's all very fun. I love the vision quest of it all. It's very whimsical in a way that I think is really interesting because it's like an angle that I like, that I know not every player and DM likes, is it's whimsical to you. Why? You don't live there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be whimsical. You're like, no, I live there. It's like, what is that? Oh, that's a hob looking for its goblin. And you'd be like, oh. And that's it. Like, there'd be no more conversation. It's like, I don't know, there are those videos of I don't remember exactly how it is, but there is a faith where one of the big things you do if you are like a very devout member is you go from one temple to another and you need to like bow until your head touches the ground every 3 steps. This is not a joke. And so like you can watch them and they will take like 1 step, 2 step, and like 1 huge step, second huge step, and then sliding 3rd step and then bow so that they can kind of efficiently make it like where they're going. I like the idea where it's like, to you, you'd be like, wow, what an odd thing to do. Like that is not something I'm used to. And anybody there would be like, yeah, he's doing the thing.
That's how it goes.
It's wild.
That
like,
gob, he's knocking door to door just to see if there might be a hob inside.
It's so important whenever people are like, isn't that a little silly? For me to be like, great, do you know anybody who drinks the transmorgified god blood that's now wine? Do you know any of them? That's not on your radar? Hey, do you have a tree in your house with lights on it? Why do you do that? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
In universe, not silly.
It's not silly because you're there the whole time. It's not silly because it never has the chance to be silly. Yeah.
There might be some species out there that thinks it's a little funny, but...
So now we need to get into the real questions. What is hobgoblin culture like? What's it like there? You roll up. I'm a visitor to the great hobgoblin city of Yarvandani. I'm walking down the street. I turn a corner. What am I looking at?
In a funny way, I feel like this is the most elvish to me because it feels wizardy. Like these people are just consumed with learning and pursuing like the furthering of education and knowledge and stuff in a way that the actual elves we have are not concerned with. They're like, I'm pursuing something for me. Hobbs, I think, are pursuing an efficient grasp of knowledge for all of their people because they know the gobs will die if they don't do it. So they gotta do it themselves. So it's really just locking in on information and knowledge for all those around them. So it's really stuffy. It's a real stuffy culture.
So you see both hobs and goblins. You see the hob and goblin of it all as being a very, very aggressively like master and apprentice. Like you come of age, you begin to study. It's just that what they are studying is so
wildly different.
Imagine if the humanities and sciences were a social pillar. We're like a cultural, not something that's like, oh, you go to college and you kind of pick one. It's like, no. A cultural pillar that affects everything is interesting.
Yeah.
How I see it, I definitely see that kind of, but it's almost like a split city. And on the Hobbs side, it's 100% that. On the Gob side, they get the gifts from the Hobbs to embetter themselves. But it's also it's art everywhere. It's creativity. And destruction. There's gotta be some destruction, but it's not like if you like us looking at it, it'd be like some people think like better versus worse. The gobs love it.
It's not worse for them. They like blowing stuff up. They like covering everything.
It is
in graffiti,
it is funny
etc.
to think, because it needs to be true, right, for this to be like a well integrated society, that like a hob spends three years architecture designing a beautiful palace. It is constructed. On the third day of it being done, a goblin comes up, breaks down one of the walls, and spray paints fartbucks for days across the front, and the hob, nodding, goes, beautiful. Goes,
Yeah,
beautiful.
exactly.
I never would
It's
have
appreciated.
thought of that. I never would have thought of that. It's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
a difference in study and like actual delivery. The Hobbs do all of the groundwork to make things possible, and the Gobs go, brilliant. I'm gonna add a machine gun to it, and they go, hell yeah, brother, get in there. You do what you need to do.
So it's kind of, I like this. So it's like the structure and invention, and they push and they pull back and forth, and it is not a negative relationship. Like, it is an enjoyable and interesting one for them. It is the kind of iconic what's his name? I almost said Kark, and that's not it.
Jekyll and Hyde.
No, Kirk.
That's not good. Kirk and
It's the
Spock.
Kirk Spock relationship of like, he does the thing, he says the thing, they think about it, they get it done. I just realized their ship name would be Cock. Now I need to sort of
Write
know
that
that
down.
forever. I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, that's crazy. So, okay, the sort of structure and invention, push and pull back and forth, I think is really interesting. The thought that most business partnerships, like if you start any business that is started, the thought of starting a business with only members of one of the two groups is like, it just wouldn't happen. It just would not. Like, it wouldn't even, it's not that it wouldn't be considered successful. It's that it would just be like, what do you mean?
Yeah, why would you do that?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Why don't you just stop
I need
breathing?
my friend.
Why don't you just stop breathing tomorrow? It seems like you're wasting a lot of time breathing. Like, it just wouldn't even, that is interesting. I love the idea of trying to explain it to somebody, being like, it's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's like, why do they travel together? They do. They always will. They always have. The thought that if a hob were to leave town, they would run into a goblin somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why? Why does the sun come up, man? They just would. That's what'll happen, I think is really interesting. So there's this sort of structure and invention that exists in their own world. It's a lot of innovation, innovation via cooperation, I think is really interesting.
Can I make something true for this universe too?
You can pitch something.
Yes. A hob never tries to make something fully indestructible. Like a goblin never tries to fully destroy something a hob makes.
That is a funny, like, compact is... I like the idea that it's, oh, why do you try to avoid that? And you're like, oh, is it some, like, spiritual practice? And the hob is like, it is, we call it the snowball effect. What is it? A hob tries to make something that can't be broken. A goblin tries to make something that can break it. The hob tries to make something that cannot be broken by the new thing. And it just gets real out of hand really fast. The next thing you know, there's a new mountain, or there used to be a mountain there. It's just not worth it. We stay away from that. It's a bad idea. Okay. So that is what it is like internally. There is a lot of that back and forth. And there is probably some extent of, you know, the sort of chagrin to some people. But on average, this is an enjoyable relationship that has great output. How do they interact with outsiders?
I feel like for the most part, they don't feel the need to. A lot of the other ones enjoy connecting with people outside. They even seek it out for the most part. I don't think Hobbs and Gobs feel that drive.
I struggle to see that from the goblins. The thought that like this like innovation and constant pushing wouldn't push them to new areas. I think though what you've said, maybe actually now that I think about it, maybe it has to be true, just because it would be just difficult to interact with. Like, it would be difficult. It would be difficult. It would be a kind of a challenge, right? To wrap your noodle around. that interaction. It is funny to imagine an elf trying to sort of roll up and become... I think it would be tough to integrate yourself into hobgoblin society in maybe quite a real way. There would be a sort of additional challenge to that.
Yeah, I think even the changelings, they want to let you here. I think it's kind of weird for them too, because unless they're talking to a hobgob, it's never quite full.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm going to write that down.
If they can get a hobgob, they love it, but it doesn't always happen.
And so beyond that, the fact that for a changeling, it's like only having half of a conversation. If you're only speaking to half of them, there is that natural discomfort. So I like the idea that outside of it, there is just... it is a lot of... No, so Michael put up a really fun one, which is changelings, if they are speaking to only a hob or a goblin, feel like they're only having half of a conversation. Like they feel like a huge gap unless they are speaking to the complete pair, I think is interesting. So then the question is just, so I know that maybe they don't seek it out, but like, what is their interaction with other groups? What is it? Do they trade a lot? Do they speak a lot? Is there a lot of hobgoblins living other places? Do a lot of other species live where hobgoblins do? Like, how much are they folded in to the larger picture? Because we know that elves, mostly sequestered. Dwarves, occasionally an outsider can come visit, but they are going to assume that you are object-oriented, that you are there for something. And if you're not there for something, they're going to be like, why are you here then? Not in an accusatory way, not in an aggressive way. They will just be confused about why you are there. They'll be like, well, you don't have a place in our society. And it's like, whoa. And it's like, no, you literally don't. Like, the office has 8 chairs. There's not a 9th chair. Oh, can't you pull up an extra? We don't have an extra. Like, there's 8 people there. I think is interesting. Elves love a visitor. They move a lot. They want to interact with other people and kind of go and range find and hunt new and interesting prey and discover new things. Changelings just want to meet people, speak to people. What is the kind of social world of the hobgoblin as they interact with others?
I think it's very case by case. Like, I think the dwarves are very welcomed here, and like the dwarves like it there. It's from the hobs they get that in that like upbringing, the technological advancements, and from the gobs of the explosives.
So I get that because as a city, they would be merchants in some capacity. They are creating things, and so their worth in society would be to sell those things.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
that makes sense.
So dwarves are trying to build their... Okay, I've got it. Dwarves are trying to build their culture and community. Hobgoblins are trying to build stuff.
Yeah.
They are trying to be the best woodworker, the best this, the best that. They are trying to make the best mousetrap. There is this, like, constant innovation, push. They have kind of an American reputation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, are they always the best to have around? No. But they do have a habit of taking 9 other people's inventions and aggregating them into a 10th really useful, strange object that you would never think. Like, a hobgoblin duo invented the chicken nugget. Other people had done the chicken, they'd done the chicken breast, they'd done the ground chicken, and then one of them was like, panko breadcrumbs, fry at 400, sell it to kids. And the hob was like, maybe with a sauce to dip it in. Like, I see it. Okay. So there is this, so heavy trade, heavy interaction with maybe a little bit of like community distance.
I also could see where dwarves we set as insular but not warlike. I think that hobgoblins would not be opposed to going to a place that has something that they want and taking it by force. I don't think that the hobgoblins would be against that.
Is there a so we do have this is our first, it sounds like this is our first species with a like not colonial impulse, but like it happens.
Yeah.
Like you can quickly see how this interaction can take on a very specific, again, we are sort of leaning into a kind of the analogy is working here. So there is a little bit of a sense, okay. So like, and I like that we have our points of conflict with each group except changelings. Changelings have very little source of conflict. Dwarves are you have gotten too close. I think that the way, okay, let's think about it this way. How do you come into conflict with dwarves? You build a farm somewhere, and a dwarf knocks on your door and goes, hey, you can't live here. What? You need to move. What? You... Go, shoo! And you're like, what? But that can happen to a town. Like, if a dwarf... If a dwarven city like expands into a new place and then they go to build up and there is a town up there, I think they might go like, you guys have got to go. We're not gonna. And like if negotiations fail, it'll go another way. For elves, it's like very friendly elves have a certain degree of interaction. They're gonna kind of go back and forth. If you run into the wrong group, you will be hunted. Like that is one of the angle. And occasionally elves go to war. They've got the equipment. So do dwarves. I think changelings might be the only ones who just straight up are like, do not have a violent history. Like there have been probably, they have a violent history in that they have the occasional like serial killer. Like the occasional person with like, what do you call it? With like actual psychopathy. It's like, whoa, different.
And violence had been done unto changelings in the past that makes them follow these tenets of we are not going to lie bad lies and we're not going to overstay our welcomes because that's when bad things happen to changelings. So they don't do that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Last question before we move on to like the divinity, leaning into the divinity here. What do these guys look like?
Huh. I'm having a hard time not just looking at a hobgoblin and a goblin in my head, a la Magic the Gathering.
I don't think I want the like red skin, tough titty ear hobgoblin.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes sense. My first image for the hobgoblin, funnily enough, was the Vidalcan from Ravnica and Magic the Gathering, the blue dudes.
I have to look it up.
Me too.
Vidalcan, you said?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It doesn't need to go that way though. So number one, what does a goblin look like? So to me, goblins usually in my world, I tend to have them be goblins in the style of Labyrinth, where it's like some of them look like birds, some of them look like little dudes, some of them look like fuzzy little creatures, and they're all goblins. Why? How does a goblin look? You know, man, they look like they look. They're completely different. No two of them look particularly similar. But that's when I tend to have them be like little pieces of chaos that happen to start thinking someday, is what I tend to be. My personal favorite is anytime a part of the world becomes too lawful, goblins will begin to just walk out of the shadows. Why? It got too lawful, and these little pockets of chaos start to like just like bubble up. Sounds like we're probably not going in that direction.
I like that if we make the hobs fully like placid. They are not featureless. They have a nose, they have eyeballs, maybe they have eyebrows, but it's just a mask of a face. And then on their shoulder is a little dude who looks like a bird mixed with a piece of garbage. I think that's hilarious. I think that's a great amount of fun. But it's only fun because it's a juxtaposition between the two. where the one is just whoom, and the other one throws dynamite. Hilarious.
I like that. The one thing I do want to add, if you're all right with it, they're like skin color. If you have like a perfect hobgob, they're always on the color wheel exact opposites.
Oh, they're
you can have
contrast.
all different. Yeah, the color wheel can be all over, but they're always exact opposites.
That's pretty fun.
So hobs
and
are
then-
like pretty like kind of indistinct, tall, smooth, almost like.
Mm-hmm.
Are mentally, where are you landing? Are you like, are we going full Slender Man? Are we going full like?
No. I was looking at the Vidalkin, look at a Vidalkin, and then say turn their emotion and like physical facial differences down by like 20%. All the Vidalkin basically look the same. That's kind of what we're working with.
Okay, so we get this sort of like, so very, very smooth-skinned, low features, but high color. There is this very vivid coloration to them.
Mhm.
And then goblins are very chaotic. They don't have like set features. Two of them can look totally different from one another, and they always contrast one another. It can be in color, it can be in temperament, it can be in maybe it is in what they look like to some extent, right? There is this shift. There's always this back and forth between the two of them. And seeing them together will always make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It always makes sense if you were to kind of see it play out. A very stoic hob will have a extremely emotional goblin. A very analytical hob will have a very spontaneous goblin. And they always reflect that trait. I like the idea that for a goblin, it's like the gap between their personality and what they look like is near zero.
Yep.
Another fun idea if we want. We'll call it the mayors. The mayors of the city. It's always a hob and a gob. And for some reason it's always like one of them is like marble white and the other's always like what's the venti black?
Vanta.
Vanna
It's
Black.
like
Vanta.
just an almost invisible. That's honestly
Yeah.
kind of terrifying.
That's just for some reason that determines the mayors.
Can we make this god, I suppose, the youngest? And it created this creation.
Stood up to its eldest
With-
brother and got ah!
Yeah, it didn't even stand up. It just was like so keyed in on wanting to create something that it made a really similar creation to humanity. And when it was cut down, partially it was because it made a humanity duplicate that was just different in like coloration and ideals. But when it was cut and those creatures were ripped apart into two variations, it's what made them the human duplication is like the drive for innovation and like striving for connection. All that's superhuman. And that's what this god made to begin with. And then those things split along with the god is fun. Youngest sibling, whereas the dwarf is the second oldest. This one didn't stand up. It was cut down. And then they made humanity stand up against the god as a form of vengeance for what happened here.
So are we thinking like this is the first civilization post not even post they will have started like just as humans ended? Or like not just but like just a hair before?
I think the answer is it's just before on the timeline of gods.
Yeah.
It's like the moments before on the timeline of divine beings that live infinitely long. Where it's like, yeah, for sure, that war took 200 years. From the perspective of a god, drop in the bucket. Took 5 seconds. From an outsider perspective, it seems like a very long time.
So these were the first creatures besides humanity that populated the world.
I think
I
that's
think is
interesting.
where you're going, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And just lore wise, that can add a few things. There could be like real tomes in the hobgoblins.
There's
areas.
relics of humanity with the hobs and gobs. I can definitely see that.
Okay. So, and that is an interesting way to do that. So, eldest species. So, what does this god look like? Does it have the physical appearance of a being that has been split in half? Or is this a more metaphorical rending asunder? Like, what does it look like? Was it, because now that Spencer, you called to mind this like really specific image, right? Of a like tall, stoic being with an imp nearby. Kind of the stereotypical wizard and familiar is hob and goblin. It's just that the two are valued the same, right? Goblins aren't thought of internally as like inferior. So my first thought is, did they like cut the head?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
They
the head
cut
got
the
cut off, so
head.
that it's just the tall body and then the little head that's like propped up nearby. Very funny.
And so but now my question is the god in their current form a head and a body? Or are they two beings and their lore is that they are a head and a body? Like, is it a hob and a goblin now, if you were to look at them? Or is it a head and a body?
I think that a divine form couldn't stand being in that position for long enough. So when you look at the body that was headless, it's still headless, but like a mouth and eyes formed at the chest, so it can still speak and it can give command and it can view the world. And the head grew arms and legs, but is like meatball-esque in form. So it made itself into something that can experience the world and do what it needs to do in its divine forms. But it is not right.
I see small. I have to take out an annoying needle and poke here.
Yes.
We're still talking about it as if it looks like a human that had its head cut off, and that can't be true. What did it look like before it got decapitated? Only one of our gods looked like a human, and it's the one that's dead. It's the rotten god. All the other ones are an elven wolf panther that, slinks through trees, a machine god that made its own body, and a ten-faced two-headed changeling being that is also an amorphous ball of light. So I'm down. What did it look like when its head got cut off?
Let's see. I'm trying to
Is
think
there
about the
some
creation
middle
that's
point
made.
here.
Yeah.
Is there? This is maybe, I don't know. This is like a weird. Is it like a beautiful, perfect? Like, if you imagine these two beings, the hobs and the goblins, like put together into one, right? You end up with the perfect balance of all. Like, is there a angelic, celestial quality, or do we get the sense, or is it like, what is this? I'm just trying to imagine it and I'm having trouble. I'm ending up with nearly headless Nick. Like, I'm ending up with just like a dude's head and a dude's body.
I think as far as coloration goes, it's a like permanent swirling marbling pattern that just changes throughout the tones that you would see on a hob and a gob. Just in perfect harmony on both of these forms.
So it's
and
chromatic.
It's always, it's showing the same patterns and coloration on the body as on the head that are now their own pieces.
So it's sort of like
pitch then.
Kaleidoscopic color. I like that. I'm writing that down.
Semi-pitch then. Like, when you say that, it's almost like looks wise like a lava lamp. person.
Oh, and does it like drift?
That's pretty cool.
The colors like shift and drift. So what I'm almost imagining then is a sort of midpoint, is a like tall, regal, I don't know why I'm imagining horns. Maybe not, because that's gonna make it look kind of infernal. But I'm imagining this like tall regal, but with these very like exaggerated, almost like toon features being, because we need to get that goblin like twist on this like graceful, like well-tempered body. But post bisection now, the head has become much more, all of the toon went to the head, and it is now like arms sprung out, like a head running around, and the body instead adopted this very graceful.
If toon is the one route, the other would be like the feathered animalistic horn, feathers, like creature amalgam on the head. And that, instead of cartoony, would be just animalistic. Like I said before, I think that also fills that category. So when the head was cut, the gobs got that, and the hobs got the regal form.
Okay, so in the past, we have this hybridized regal animal. You know, the kind of stereotypical, like, you know, lion in a 3-piece suit vibe, and then its head got cut off. And all of it's like, and when that split was cleft, all of the animal went up and all of the man went down. And that is what we see now. We have this like animalistic head imp.
The idea that if it was all flowing previously, like the animal form changed and what was angelic versus animal was always moving, and the divine sword was swinging, and the animal part shoved itself upward to protect the human angelic section, is a pretty fun, like, instinct shift. Like, the creation story for that race would be talking about that, where it's like, that's what gobs do for hobs. They react. Hobs don't do that. And that's what our god did for itself.
There was this,
what we
like,
do for the hobs.
This beautiful, graceful dodging of slashes of the sword, and then when one was striking true, there was this. I like the idea that you could see this like swirling lava lamp in color, and then they went shink, and like the head was just the one color, and the body was just the other, as it went across, and so it made two beings instead of killing one. I think that is really fun, and then I also like that there is this sort of like two big eyes, big nose, big mouth in the torso of a body. And I also think just because it's in this style and we want to really emphasize the harmony, I think that when you see this god, it is always in visions, the two of them like dancing or something. It is always the two of them like no, I think that's it. I think it's always the two of them in this like strange dance that is graceful and impactful and strange and like really interesting to look at as they are constantly sort of wheeling around each other. They have become kind of planet and moon and now balance each other in the kind of forces that there are. Does this god have one name or two names?
Let me ask.
Hyphenated.
I think that it's what's the thing where it's same forward and back like Taco Cat.
Oh,
no.
An anagram? Is that what that is?
No, it's not an anagram.
I have no idea.
No,
just give that a Google.
Yeah.
So if we're
race car Taco Cat. Palindrome.
Thank you. I think it'd be fun with a palindrome, and they always, what was it? Mine's this way. Mine's this way. Was the same.
All right, so I guess now we have to think of a palindrome. Good luck, everybody.
Hannah.
I mean, it like Parap it's not super difficult to do a palindrome.
True.
The
PAH
first one that ran through my head
RHAP.
that sounds okay is Kersat and Tasric.
That's fun.
Because I feel like
Kersat,
Tasric
Tasric.
sounds a little bit logical, and Kersat.
Yeah, is the flip side. That's great.
I will say that's not a palindrome though.
Kersat Tasrek.
It's the same both ways. It's a palindrome.
That's 10 times harder. I thought you just meant the word sounded right both ways.
We can go with it. I was just saying it's not.
There's
palindrome.
you could do
Wait.
cars rack
So that would be the same name for both.
for both. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they just are not argue, but their
Oh.
bit is the
If it's like cars rack, it would be cars and srack, and you put them together, it's cars rack, and it goes both ways. They just go half and
There
half.
we go.
One of them takes half, but when you put them together, it's a
Oh,
palindrome.
okay. So you refer to them as cars rack, and it's like that's cars, and that's Srack. And it's like
Yeah.
Uh,
Cars
uh,
rack.
I like that.
the thought that one of the gods. Now, are we okay with one of the gods of our world being named Cars?
Hit it with a K, and it's okay.
Are we all right with that? Is it okay
I
if
think
there's
it's
a
all
K?
right.
Yeah.
I am a paladin
Um,
to Cars. How do we
It's
feel about that?
I love cars.
Yeah, it's pronounced Cars.
Oh, there we go.
No, it's
Cars.
Cars.
All right. Cars. So Carsrack, Cars, and Srack. Really good. All right. Wow. We went in such a what a start. The music has abandoned us.
A start and an end, because we've only got 12 minutes left, give or take.
It took us so long to come up with Carsrack.
Yeah.
It really did.
I put forward he's the god of duality.
Oh yeah, we forgot to say what his domains are.
True.
Yeah, like duality and contrast, obviously, right? Let me see what's already taken. Let's make sure that we don't. I like that crafting is taken, but invention isn't.
Mm-hmm.
A dwarf is
Invention
like,
or
I will
innovation.
make the best sword anyone has ever made. And the hobgoblins are like, I'm gonna make a crossbow what shoots swords. And it's like,
Yep.
wow, those are
That's
really.
cool.
Oh no.
Oop,
It's okay. It's
gone.
okay.
And it's like, wow, those are really
Okay.
different. I didn't think those would be that different. That's super different. It's like, I will create a tincture of incredible power. And the hobgoblin's like, what happens if I feed it to a fish? It's like, I guess we'll find out.
That's fun.
Wow. All right, let's keep the ball rolling though here because we need to. We're our pace here was a little on the temperate side. It took us a minute, which makes sense. We need to jump to the next species, and we're running out of easy polls, which I'm excited for. Right? We've gotten elves, we've gotten humans taken care of. We just can't do anything with them. We got elves, we got dwarves, we've got changelings, we've got goblins and hobgoblins, and our hobs and goblins. Hobgoblins is joint. Now we're moving into areas, and this is also where we start to hit a bunch of things that are protected under creative IP. So we need to start moving in some like kind of weird directions. Probably we're 4 down, 5 to go.
I needs me a fish man. I needs me a fish man. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I do need it to exist. My first thought would be a siren. We've already made lamb sirens, so we can't do a siren.
So we're doing Fishman next.
Fishman.
Okay. So I'm down to just start with Fishman. Talk to me about. Take a moment. What's going on in the Mind Palace? Are you imagining the creature from the Black Lagoon? What is the
No,
ratio of fish to man? Can they go on the wall? Can they go on the land? Are they a Triton?
They gotta be able to go on the land, because they gotta be able to interact with the world. In my mind, they gotta be able to go onto the land. Now, my first thought to make things wacky would be to make the fishmen the way that there's those flying fish that can jump out of the water and fly for pretty good distances, where fishmen just float wherever they are, whether it's in the water, whether it's in the air. They just have some sort of hover mechanic built into their species.
Okay.
Now I'm just spitballing here, boys. Don't get too judgmental. I'm
Okay.
just trying to think. And that was my
I'm
first
not
thought. Was they are
judgmental.
flying
I'm
fish.
not judgmental. I'm confused. Those are different
Oh.
emotions.
The picture I have to make them a little bit wacky and a little bit of their own.
That was my. Can I say something, Michael? I'm really glad that you have this. My big critique of Spencer's thing was that it wasn't wacky enough.
Not
That was
wacky
my big-
enough. We got to
that
get
was my
wacky.
Don't
number
worry, I
one-
got you.
I had
I
that in my
thought
notes.
so.
I had that in my
I
notes.
thought so.
Yeah, so I got your back on this one. It's not fish people. It's still aquatic. It's crab people.
I love a crab guy.
See now, Michael. Here's the thing: you're not going to be able to convince me not to make them hover. So if you can go ahead and work that in, then we might get somewhere.
Spencer's really putting his foot down on the hovering. That's like
Yeah,
a
so we
have-
can get rid of bird people. We don't have to add those in.
They have a hover speed. They also have a side crawl move speed.
Spencer.
Side crawl move speed faster than front crawl move speed is pretty big.
All right, guys, it's been really fun. Have a happy holidays, everybody. I'm gonna head out. Okay. It's me. Whoop whoop. It's the Bit Police. I'm here to arrest both of you. All right. Crabman is a good way to let them go on land. My mental picture was, what if Dagon from H.P. Lovecraft was like chill? Like,
Yeah,
what
just
if
straight up a
what
cool
if the
guy.
dude came out of the water in Shadows over Innsmouth and was like, "My name's Greg," and was fine? That's what I pictured. Very much Creature from the Black Lagoon. But it sounds like we're shifting in a different direction.
I like Crabman because it also
I
gives
like
us sort of a
Crab.
centaur. It gives us a crab centaur angle, so you don't have to do centaurs.
So I like Crabman. I think Crabman is interesting. It makes it very
Mm-hmm.
easy for them to interact with the rest of the world. It gives them the fun of having a natural AC. They're basically always wearing like splint or whatever. That's always really fun. I like the natural weapons of it all. They can use a blade, but they don't need to. I think that's all very fun. A lot of interesting art can sort of come from this direction. Spencer.
Yo.
Now I need to take.
Mhm.
Here's the thing, man. Flying fish don't hover. They fly with their wings.
Not on Earth. Not on Earth, they don't.
And I can't accept this tomfoolery. I cannot. What did Tommy Lee Jones say to Jim Carrey when they made the Batman
Oh, I know
movie?
exactly what you're talking
I
about.
cannot condone your buffoonery, I think is this famous quote. It's something like that. I cannot sanction your buffoonery or something.
I cannot sanction your buffoonery. I hate you. I really don't like you.
Yeah, I cannot sanction your buffoonery. I'm not gonna say. Listen, you're my friend. I do like you. I can't sanction this buffoonery.
Come on.
What
let 'em hover.
busted? Michael,
I will-
say it, and it better be so good.
Yeah, it's not for these beings. It's for the next to
Oh, shit.
it's past 5. Spencer's covering. I think next we make cloud people, and they have a hover.
Wow.
Now, does Spencer get a
Gaseous
whole
form?
hovering? Spencer, the high cost of the fish people not hovering is that
Yes.
Spencer gets to make the only thing we know about the next species that they do hover. They don't fly, they hover.
They hover. A different thing. Perfect. Yeah, I'm fine with that. If crab people can't hover, I just get the next one.
I was just trying to figure out how we can get the vibe you want from hovering into the crab people. My first thought being that they're like twice as fast underwater or something like that. It would be really fun. It's like movement speed 30 on land, 60 in the water. In the water, these things are horrifying.
I mean, don't even worry about it. I got hover on the next one, so we can let the crab people go as they are.
So we've got 5 minutes on the clock, and all I have on
We
my
can
notes
do it
are
in 5.
Fishman dash Crabman.
Crab people, yeah.
And then I do have hover ? Which I
Cut that out.
blissfully can
Crab
put a
people don't
line
hover, but they
through.
do have natural weapons, and that's going to be important. And a natural AC, a la tortoise folk.
Are they
Wardens, I don't know
more?
what they're called?
Are they more crab than person, or are they more person but covered in crab scaling?
I was imagining
I'm seeing them as crab. I'm seeing them as
Crab.
crab centaurs with the upper body also being crab, just more humanoid a little bit.
Okay. See,
So-
with that, I almost think like lobster.
Yeah, no, I have a perfect 1-to-1 for what I sorry, I didn't mean that. I have something that is roughly similar to what I am picturing in my head that is legally
I have something in my head
distinct.
so strong, I just have no reference for it. I could not find you a reference. There's no
I
way.
have two split things in my head.
Okay,
and one's a
look up-
personal crap.
Look up Dreugh. It is a monster in Oblivion.
Sorry, spell that again?
Dreugh.
Drugh.
Droog.
Uh,
This is kind
I
of where
think-
my head's at, but more crabby, more carapace.
Yeah, I think give him a couple more legs, make him beefier, make him redder. You're in.
Less abs, less drawn
less
on
abs.
abdominals. Okay, so
more
like
armored.
crab body, click, 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 click. So like crab legs, like, but like meaty, like thump, 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 and then up
Mhm.
into this like thick carapace body. It's every instinct in my body is saying these are Klingons and that they are constantly at war. I can't,
That's pretty fun.
but I don't know if that makes
So-
sense, because here's the thing. If you we don't need to make this be true. In real life, if you have an exoskeleton and you get hurt even a little, you do die.
Yeah.
That's probably not true because the PCs need to not die if they get hurt. So, but like culturally, what are we imagining here? My first thought, because it is the funniest, is that they are like, by the order of the Sea Emperor, is the first one that comes into my head. But I always am sort of in that headspace.
Here's what I'm thinking. To make them more manageable, I think that under the waves, in that salty, salty brine, that's where they're doing their combat all the time. There's like eight various kingdoms that are all within a certain range that are still protected by the gods that are always at war with each other. And if you ever go there, you have to pick a side.
Can I say what I love about this? I love the idea. I think there's something so fun here. Our world is like 90% water. The thought
Yeah.
that these things are like the Great War, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Mhm.
And they're like, you know not? And it's like, we have been embroiled in war since
Yeah.
the dawn of time. That does not affect the overworld
Nope.
whatsoever.
Nope.
It just has no effect.
Michael, I gotta say, you just sent an image in chat. That's really close to what I was picturing.
I thought it might
I
be.
That's
can't open
really
it. I have to look at
close.
it after we hang up.
He's in the small chat. You could.
He can't. It's gonna mess up the cams.
It'll wreck
Fair,
the
fair, fair.
cams.
I think that's very funny. If we make it so that god's like almost assholeish, and he just doesn't really protect his creations.
Now that's
like
fun.
Other
Now,
gods
if
do.
Eternal War is silly, a really fun angle is that the ocean is unbelievably drastically violently more dangerous than the surf. Like all of the protection and all, because we've said, right, one of the things that makes everybody so well protected above ground, the reason there can be these cities, is because multiple groups of the different species live together. And so they can kind of, with their combined presence, the strength of the divinity there becomes more powerful. It's the thought that it's like, yeah, great, none of us are in Crabtown. In Crabtown,
Yeah.
it's one guy. So it would be fun if it's like, why do they have this like incredible carapace? And maybe they can have this like very warlike attitude. And it's like, oh, are they expansionist? And it's like, no. It's just that every day is a fight for survival beneath the waves. Every day it is constant like trench warfare to hold back enemies that can come from any angle above you.
It's so funny to think that the god made them, and then like they made this pact to go underground, and they're like, you need them to go above, so you need them to go to ground level. Did you give them the ability to breathe air? And he's like, yeah. And it's like, did you incentivize them? Did you tell them that? And he's like, no. And the other guy's like, why? And he's like, I just don't like them that much. I'm just not into the crab people as much as I thought I'd be when I made them, and now I let them do their thing. But
It could be a little of that. It could be the god. This is the god of like of battle. Like he likes fighting.
Yeah, and that's why he gave them armor to begin with and all that, and why he wouldn't want the protection extended to them. That's pretty sick. That's pretty
Um,
badass.
the other thing, it's a little bit of a culture thing for them. It's a little bit like something that we have with what's the culture that doesn't use technology?
In our world?
Yes, in our world.
Amish?
Are you referring to the Amish?
And I am. And they have the thing where people can leave for a year.
Rumspringa.
It's called Rumspringa.
Rum-
I live in Amish country.
So you know about it.
Yes.
Yeah, watch
they
what you say,
get-
Michael. They're gonna get him.
I've had
They
to.
get a little-
I on a regular basis driving down the road need to turn on my blinker and slow down to pass a horse and buggy. Like on a very regular basis, I need to do that.
But they have their own little Rumspringer, where it's like they're at war like all their life. They get a year of just not war. It could
How
be
often do
something
you think they don't come back?
It is so funny to imagine that it's like the average one of these things that you meet is on literal shore leave.
Yeah, shore leave is so funny.
It's like, what do you do? And it's like, oh, you serve for a year and then you can take a break. And then you go back down below. And it's like, oh, do people ever stay above? And the answer is, of course, like, yeah, it's not a monoculture. Like, there are people who just go above. If your entire town is wiped out, you might just be done with the water. I kind of like the idea that they're like going dry is like a term for like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I just can't.
You're dried out.
I do love the idea of a race where it's like the love, like the gleeful love of combat comes from necessity, where it's like their god made his creation beneath the waves, and when the infection of the rotten god began, maybe like the other gods were like, make them come above the water. Like, that is a place, for whatever reason, the rotten god is very strong, and he was like, I will not cede my land. And so there is this like, yes, your character looking in the middle distance. It's like, peer into this orb. It will show you your most treasured memory. The elf sees them like learning the flute, and like that dwarf is like making their first sword, and then it's like this droog is like, childhood, and it's him with like a Zweihander on the field watching his dad gets killed, and he's like, a noble end, and you're like, that's your happiest memory? And he's like, I miss the waves. I want to return someday. It's like, what if your entire cultural history was World War One? What if the whole thing, bottom to top, was just that? It is really good. All right, folks, with that, we're going to have to pick this up next time. We're going to talk out the details of how they interact with other groups, figure out the divinity that made these, like, combat-loving, they have this, like, deep and abiding love. The thought that Crabman mercenaries are prized. Like, it is a ultimate sign of wealth to be able to afford a Crabman mercenary who has spent his life fighting is so fun. With that, thank you all so much for watching. We're going to be probably keeping the series going for a little while. With the pace it's going now, my guess is we'll finish up the Pantheon and then either jump into a little bit of the cultural back and forth or move on to other interesting areas. Maybe move on from this world into some cool stuff. Might take a little bit of work off cam. We will just have to see. With that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a very happy holidays. Check out Leviathan's Wake. Episode 1 is up. Episode 2 is coming up real soon. Yeah? Is that where we're at? Episode 2 is coming up real soon. You can catch that in the not too distant future. We're going to be getting back on the horse post holidays. Unsurprisingly, a busy time for us all. Lots to tune into after that. We have some new and exciting things coming down the hopper that I'm excited to see how they kind of pan out as we continue. Thank you so much for watching. We will catch you in the next one. Peace out.